Beacon Academy landing pad. A crowd is forming not because of the Atlassian Knights patrolling around. It was a new ship that recently arrived with a group of soldiers. Coming out at the frigate are the Munulus 10 ARC troopers, with Captain Fordo leading and a clone commando known as Captain Gregor. At the other side was Jaune with Cody and Rex being led by Ashbin Ironwood and Glinda until Jaune saw the frigate and asked Ashbin to go to them despite Ironwood's protests. As Jaune neared then he saw the ARC troopers facing up with Specialist Winter and her troop of AKS. While Jaune also spots a drunk hobo walk towards them. To his surprise, the hobo ripped off one of the AK's heads and taunted the specialist. It was Fordo who tried to defuse the situation by mediating between the two. Fordo: "All right, that's enough, please stand down, sir." Crow: "Who's this? You need others to fight for you, Schnee?" Winter: "He's not with me." Fordo: "Listen, I know everyone here is tense, but this doesn't need to escalate further." Crow: "Sheesh, and I thought Jimmy's machines were so dull, now we have puppet soldiers?" That struck a nerve in Jaune and rushed forward to confront the drunk. Captain Fordo, seeing Jaune, saluted the Supreme Commander, followed by the rest. Crow raised an eyebrow at the action and turned to see a similar armored man glaring at him, but what's different is he has a small cloak and a large sword behind him. The sword is a customized vibro blade made by Anakin. One side has a chunk missing in order for it to fill a beam to create its edge, and it's made of Beskar. Jaune snarled, "You have a problem with soldiers?" Crow: "What's to love? They're just mindless men, just following orders." Then suddenly Crow was bitch-slapped by Jaune while Winter just smirked. Crow: "Oof, struck a nerve?" Jaune: "No one insults my brothers." Jaune drew his vibro blade and took all the training to counter Jedi from Django to good use. Crow drew Harbinger and got into a stance. They clashed blades like expert swordsmen and danced around while the students watched the spectacle. One student ran away, that kid being Mercury Black, to inform Cinder that Branwen was at Beacon. Jaune was able to get a few punches in while Crow was able to cut small chunks off Jaune's Durasteel armor. Crow smiled and taunted, "Sorry if I what said was personal," with some snark. While Jaune retaliated, getting information from Ashbin that this man was also a Branwen. Jaune: "Personal like how we puppet soldiers wiped out your entire tribe?" Crow: "What?" with his eyes narrowing. Jaune: "If we're just puppets, what does that make them? Trash?" Crow: "You better watch what you say next, bub." Jaune: "Oh, don't get me started with their leader, she was a bitch." Crow had enough and jumped at Jaune while Jaune holstered his blade. Crow stopped and turned. It was Ashbin. Ironwood: "What is going on here?" Winter: "This man struck first by ripping off one of our AK's heads." Ironwood glanced at Crow, But he was no his immediate concern. He looked at the ship on the landing pad and observed the crowd seeing more of this unknown military. Ashbin, "All right, nothing to see here, please go watch the matches. I bet they might be far more interesting than this scuffle." All of them but the ARC troopers joined Ashbin in his office. Ironwood, "What were you thinking? If you were one of my men I'd have you shot." Crow, "If I was, I'd shoot myself, save you the trouble." Rex, typical Atlassian. Winter, "What did you say?" Gregor, "You heard him." Glinda, "Enough," cracking her riding crop. Winter, "He's just a drunk." Glinda, "He's always drunk." They both looked at Crow, who was sipping from his flask. Ashbin, "Why are you here?" Crow, "To tell you that her people are here." Ironwood, "We already know." Crow, "You already know. Well, good, I'm running around gathering intel from the enemy, risking my life." Ironwood, "You went silent. We had all reason to assume you have been compromised." Gregor, "Going silent while gathering intel is standard operating procedure, you idiot." Winter, "Watch your mouth." John, "Quiet." Everyone looked at him. John, "Ashbin, can you please address the elephant in the room?" Ashbin, "Yes, it's about time. James, this man is part of our circle." Ironwood looked shocked and commanded Winter to leave, which she hesitantly complied. Ironwood, "Are you kidding me, Oz? We don't know who he is." Ashbin, "I personally know him." Crow, "Of course you do." Ashbin gestures John to remove his helm, and he did. Ironwood and Crow were shocked to see a young man underneath. Crow, "You can't be serious, Ozzy, he's just a kid." Ashbin, "A kid with 8 months of advanced knowledge and experience in warfare. There's no math here, Crow." Ashbin the buzzed his intercom. Ashbin, "Bring them up." Ironwood, "This boy possesses unknown weapons and technology. He and his men should support us by joining Atlas Army." John, "Me and my brothers would rather die than join your group of incompetent personnel." Ironwood was about to give his rebuttal, but Crow cut him off. Crow, "You keep saying brothers not men, why is that?" John gestured the rest of his brothers to remove their helmets, and to say the least the two idiots are frying their brains to comprehend all this. Crow, "You guys have the same face." Cody, "Because we're clones." Ironwood, "Impossible, no one in Remnant has that kind of tech." Fordo, "Who said we're from Remnant?" That got them even more confused. Until the elevator opened and revealed 2 women that Crow knew. It was Summer and Raven, still in cuffs. Crow rushed to Summer, unsure if he was dreaming. Summer reached for his cheek and Crow began crying. "Summer, it's me, Stilts." Crow just hugged her, and Raven looked away when Crow looked at her. John, "Well, since we're all here." John pulled out a hollow projector and gave them all a documentary of the galaxy. When they were done, Ironwood staggered. Ironwood, so many planets with tech more advanced than us? We're a backwater planet? Crow tried to chug all the contents of his flask until Summer took it from him, then patted his back. Ironwood, a clone army? How many of you are out there? Jaune, I won't tell you even if Ashbin told me to. Ashbin, I won't even give such an order. Ironwood was secretly ordered to apprehend this unknown group and take their weapons for advancement research for Atlas. Couldn't even come close to the Republic's level. Fully well aware that Atlas will declare war on them for their spoils. Jaune, since we're done here, I'll have to reorganize my troops. Ashbin nodded and Jaune left, leaving the secret circle to debate his appointment. Jaune and the clones in the elevator. Jaune, so you're our reinforcements? Fordo, yes sir. Jaune nodded. Jaune's forces has been reinforced. With 10 ARC troopers, 1 clone commando and 25 shock troopers. Now they have to deal with Roman to get an edge on their secret enemy.